Hello guys again on Spin Pizza. We just drove down here. I took a video on my camera so you probably will see it. We walked past the library and now we're at Spin Pizza. I think I already said that, but I'm like really excited. It's raining like 3 hours early though, so it should be good, and I can't wait to show you guys dinner and show you everything that happens. Bye! Okay guys, so I brought my camera and everything, but this is how I'm looking. I'm gonna need to do my lipstick, but I thought I would talk to you guys. I'm about ready to leave in about an hour to go see Cassandra Clare and Jesse the Reader, and it should be an awesome night. I have a really good gift plan for Jesse. I have my Shadowhunter's necklace on to meet Cassandra Clare, and we're gonna have a lot of fun. My lips definitely need lipstick. I hope you guys don't think I look super ugly, but I'm so excited, and I'll see you guys there. Goodbye!
If I'd known we were going to have a turnout like this, I would have come a long time ago. We're here yesterday too. We had a great time. We had finally a day off tour, so we hung out. We ate barbecue. Yeah. Went to Arthur Bryant's. It was awesome. Walked by the river. It's a lovely, lovely city. So thank you for welcoming us here. And we got some questions from you guys ahead of time, so we're going to ask a few, and if we got time left over, we'll come out in the audience and get a few live questions.
Right. Yes, barbecue and beautiful readers. My first question might be, how do I move here? Will you welcome me? All right. I have been given the awesome responsibility of asking Cassie these questions. No one should have trusted me with this task. But I'm glad they did. Now, you guys have asked me some really, really excellent questions. But I picked my very favorite to go first. I'm a big picker of favorites, and I will pick like my favorite character from her books, and my least favorite character, anything, drop of a hat. So I hope you guys will tell me your favorites in turn. But the very first question is a very sensible question from a forward-thinking member of the audience. If Clary wasn't sure that Jace was really Jace, what would their safe word be? You need a safe word in case of demons. So smart.
Right. I guess in case of shape-changing demons, you should be careful and have a safe word. So I'm going to go with mango.
I would say duck because, you know, I feel like a demon could research you. Like if you say duck, there's the actual flinch that the true Jace would do. But that's because I'm an untrusting soul.
And you also hate ducks, so... Yeah.
Yes, it is true. Which, in fact, relates to another question. Why does Jace hate ducks? We actually have an answer for that.
We do.
I am involved.
I mean, Jace hates ducks because Will hates ducks. I mean, Will is the actual originator, Will of Infernal Devices, of the duck hating. Jace is more of a Johnny-come-lately duck hater. But I was in London researching for the Infernal Devices. Sarah was with me. We went to Hyde Park on a beautiful day, as I wanted to research the scene where Tessa and Jessamine walk around the park. And we brought some snacks with us, which we purchased at Harrods, and we were done with our snacks, which were like little pies, and then we started feeding the ducks the leftovers, and suddenly Sarah said, "Stop!
Stop! You can't do this! This is duck pie! We're feeding duck to the ducks!"
And I went, "Cannibal ducks!" So we were horrified, so we packed up our food, and we made to run away, but the ducks knew we still had food and we weren't giving it to them, so they chased us. They chased us and they tried to bite us. And we were both very angry, and so I wrote duck hatred into Infernal Devices to pay the ducks back.
Those ducks were not right. They had tasted duck flesh. They had
Dead eyes.
Oh! They chased us halfway across the park.
Other people looking and being like, "Oh."
It was cool though. I kept telling myself, you don't have to run faster than ducks, you just have to run faster than her.
That's surprisingly fast.
That's true, she's a little bit speedy. Oh God, the ducks will get me in the end. That That is why Jace and Will are very sensible. Now, will there be any new runes for the Dark Artifices series? Ask someone who needs a new rune tattoo.
There are some runes, and there's specific ones that are mentioned that Clary has invented in the time since the previous series, including a breathing underwater rune, which is very useful, and another equally useful rune, which I will not mention at the moment.
I was just about to mention it as my favorite, but I see that would be inappropriate.
Okay. And a slightly inappropriate rune, which you might want to get tattooed on. I don't know. So it's down to you.
Clary's a forward thinker, that's all I'm saying. That's why she has the safe word mango ducks. What parts of mythology did you find most interesting when doing research for your books?
I think one of the things I found most interesting was how much mythology from different parts of the world overlaps. That when you're looking for a certain kind of piece of mythology or thematic thing, you have the same myth. Like, say you're looking for a magic sword. There's going to be magic swords in almost every kind of mythology across the world, and they will have developed their own myth about the sword, but what's interesting is how much they are similar, and they touch on the same things. So I think it kind of speaks to how mythology comes from our need to sort of explain things in the world to ourselves and assign them meaning.
I think awesome. Answer. And now I am going to ask a slightly shameless question and give Cassie a chance to promote her other series. Will you be writing any new books outside of the Shadowhunter world anytime soon? Have you already done so?
I have already done so. I have a series called the Magisterium series that I co-write with Holly Black. And the first book came out last year. Wait, no, the second book came out last year. So we're on book 3 this year. So the first book is called The Iron Trial. So if you want something from me that is not Shadowhunters, you can check that out.
I like it. It's a good time. It's about a boy who really, really doesn't want to go to magic school. And also Holly and Cassie and I often plot together, and that's usually pretty great because two people gang up on one person who cries and screams and is like, no, I don't want to, no, I don't like it. But when they're writing together, it's just me. So I had to corral them in a garden in France, and I was like, now we're going to work out the details of this magical world. And anyone who doesn't work gets the hose.
I just had to be faster than Holly.
Aside from the hose, how do you overcome writer's block? Which character is the most fun to write about? And can I touch your mango? That's a question from the audience. It's not a...
You can touch Sarah's mango.
Throw to the ducks!
And most fun to write, Magnus. And overcoming writer's block. Usually, I find for me, writer's block is caused by having made some kind of a wrong turning in the story. So I retrace my steps through the story to the point where I feel like, oh, I made a decision here that doesn't work, and I rewrite from that point.
I was lucky enough to write with Cassie and some of our friends, The Bane Chronicles and Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy. And the last Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy story that I wrote is half Magnus's point of view and half Simon's. And the story ended up twice as long as it should have, just because I was like, I miss writing Magnus so much.
He is fun to write.
It's always a good time. See, you finally picked a favorite thing. I'm so excited. She's always like,
I said I would do one for you. One.
Who was your favorite author when you were younger?
Favorites! Favorites! What's the favorites? It's
really led into the question.
Jane Austen.
And yet, who has the bag?
Our friend Holly gave her the bag, which is only a sign that Holly does not give me the presents that I should be getting.
First, just throw me to the ducks. Now you're
I'll steal your purse.
How does writing and storytelling make you feel?
Goodness, it's an interesting question. I think one Sarah could answer as well, so I'm going to make you answer first.
Well, our friend Holly actually was on the tour bus. Have you guys seen it outside? It is so fancy. There is a bed in it.
Fancy bus.
And it has sparkly lights over it. I could have walked in and has her sitting on it just like, hello, join me. And I was like, okay. Anyway, Holly was sitting with us on one of the armchairs. We weren't all in the bed. And Holly was like, God, there's no part of writing that isn't terrible. We were like, oh, why aren't you an accountant? I think the most beautiful thing about writing is when a magnificent idea comes to you, perhaps when you're in line for the bank, and everybody in line at the bank looks at you because you've suddenly begun laughing. Oh, they're all going to be so upset. That's just such a beautiful feeling, the feeling that there are people in this world you've never met. You could just reach out and crush their heart. That's the most beautiful thing to me. It just makes me happy every day.
It's true. Sarah's the only person I know who, while she's writing, goes like this. It's really unnerving. She's like,
Now she says that, but did I make me read the end of Clockwork Prince like 5 times? And every time I would cry, and every time she's like, not enough. Not enough.
right. Yeah, it's definitely about making people feel things. And also just about the bus, I would like to say that Sarah and I were also on a similar bus when we toured for Clockwork Princess and the Bane Chronicles, except our friend Maureen Johnson, who co-authored the Bane Chronicles, was with us. And we got to Vegas, and we were on our way to the bookstore, and Maureen, we were in the, we're inside the bus, and the shades are drawn and everything, and Maureen's like, decides it's time to change for the event, so she's changing, and the guy who drives, one of the guys who's working on the bus comes back and says, well, sorry to interrupt, but I thought you should know that people can actually see into the bus from the outside. And we haven't had any complaints, but we have had some comments. Maureen was like, well, it's the Vegas Strip. I mean, this is hardly the weirdest thing that's ever happened.
Yeah, I then screamed at the top of my voice, we're stripping on the strip. At which point he's like, and the windows are open so people can't hear you.
I was very well behaved.
Oh yeah, redheads always are. Do you outline your stories from the beginning, or as you write, do things just come to you, to add and embellish and hurt people?
I think both. We were talking earlier about often getting asked, like, where did you get the idea for the book? And the thing is, you don't really get one idea that's a whole book. You get an idea that leads to a whole series of decisions and other ideas that eventually becomes a book. With City of Bones, my idea was I'd like to write a series about a magical group of warriors for whom tattoos give them powers, and that was it. So obviously a lot of other world building and ideas and decision making went into that. So I do tend to outline, but then as I go with the outline, I tend to add and embellish, as I work. So I think it's a combination of the two.
Yeah, sometimes inspiration just strikes. We were in France again, this time without a hose, and she was writing City of Heavenly Fire, and I was sitting on the floor also writing, laughing to myself the way I do. And she began to peep over her computer at me weirdly. She's like, I was like, what? What are you doing? She's like, oh, you're gonna be mad. And I was like, what are you doing? And then she passed down her computer and she had written the death that I find the most upsetting in her whole series. I won't say what it is, it's just, you're a murderer.
I killed the character, and I knew Sarah wouldn't like it, and she didn't. But I didn't get the hose because we didn't have one that year.
Also, you can't get the hose indoors. The French are civilized people. How did you come up with the different terminology in your books, like parabataille and family names, names of demons?
The names of demons are all from real mythology, the names of different demons from different cultures, and similarly, almost every word is a real word from either from mythology, from dead languages, living languages. Parabataille is Greek, ancient Greek, and I was studying for the Shadowhunters because they don't fight with guns, they fight with swords and whatnot, so I was studying sort of old-fashioned Greek and Roman methods of fighting, and I came across the term parabataille, henoki parabataille, which is like a charioteer and the side driver, and they're not supposed to separate, and they're supposed to stay together for the battle. And I thought, oh yeah, it's kind of how to kind of take that and turn it into a magical binding that requires two warriors to stay together. So it's an adaptation of an existing word.
Names are always tricky. And like writers are always looking up like baby names, like a million baby names. And I remember at one point it was like evil name. We're like Sebastian. Sebastian's an evil name. And I was like, no, don't use Sebastian. I want to call my son that.
But she didn't have a son at that point, so I was like, well, you can't call it for the non-existent baby. So I'm just gonna, and also her other idea for a baby name was Oberon, and I was like, well, that's just the worst, so whatever. Leave her to weird names. So I took to use the name Sebastian, but now she does have a baby named Sebastian. It's very confusing for me because, of course, he's only 2 and he's very sweet, and I keep being like, Sebastian, evil.
It was still better than Oberon, though. We were
We were not. She just got the baby, and she was like, what should I name him? And we were like, not Oberon.
Like, Oberon will hate you, change his name to Ron, become an accountant. Although, hilariously, Sebastian's grandmother often gets confused between 2 names, one of them being her favorite name that she wished the baby was called, and that's Jonathan. So she's like, Jonathan Sebastian! And I'm like, stop! Freaking me out.
Baby's not right.
How long did it take for you to write Lady Midnight?
Oh my god, it was a really long time. Midnight's a big book, right? And first books are always the most difficult because you're getting to know the characters, you don't know them yet. So you're meeting them in the book as the writer for the first time, and you get to know characters by writing them. So I wrote the story, and then I went back and I rewrote the whole story because I knew the characters by the end of the book, and I was like, okay, the way that they behave is now no longer right. You know, I need to rewrite it knowing these characters and knowing how they act and knowing their personalities. So I wrote it, rewrote the whole thing, and then edited it. I think it took about 2 years. Usually my books take about a year, so it was about twice as long as they normally take.
Yeah, the New Year's before last, you had a draft of it. I remember because I was walking to a New Year's party and I was checking my email and I was just like, Happy New Year! And you were like, no one will ever like Lady Midnight. It's terrible. Everything about it is terrible. And I hate my life. And I was like, yeah, well, Happy New Year! Okay, bye!
And I remember, not last year but the year before, we were both living in London, and we'd gotten flats that were like 20 minutes apart from each other, which was lovely. And every day we would meet up in a coffee shop, and I would work on Lady Midnight, and Sarah would curse her current project, and I would curse my current project, so, you know, that's how I know it's been 2 years.
Yeah, I was writing Tell the Wind and Fire back then, and I was sitting there being like, well, how do you write a book that doesn't have sequels? Do you just kill everybody right away?
I should be split up on myself. Sorry, that was gross. That's really funny.
It's hilarious for my own good. Also, we discussed how to deal with the ever-present death threat in London. But mostly we discussed how unhappy we were with our writing. Now, this is a really interesting question, I think. Do you think you'll write more about Camille, maybe before she met Magnus? I mean, we've never gotten a Camille question before. Hello out there, whoever loves evil blonde ladies.
Right. I mean, who doesn't love evil blonde ladies? I love Camille. She's a lot of fun. And Camille, before she meets Magnus, or really when she meets Magnus, does show up in the Bane Chronicles in the Edmund Herondale story. Vampire Scones and Edmund Herondale is what it's called. So we do get to meet Camille then and get to know her a little bit.
Getting her flirt on with a werewolf, showing up in a sexy dress to the shadow.
That really is her move, you know? And we do get, and she's in The Last Hours. You guys know about The Last Hours?
Yes.
Does any of you not know? You. Okay. So, The Last Hour is a sequel to The Infernal Devices, so it takes place in about 1903. So, Camille, obviously, alive then, hanging around then. So, if you just want to kind of see her again, you will see her again in Last Hours. Whether she's going to get her own, book, I don't know, but she's always a fun character.
Can I ask a favorites question?
Okay.
Yay. I would like to know who is your favorite couple in the Mortal Instruments. What a good question. I love picking favorites.
Church and Chairman Meow. Theirs is a forbidden love.
Speaking of forbidden loves, does Will and Tessa and Jen count as a couple?
The three of them together?
My favorite.
I mean, that's a couple. It's a sort of couple. It's a relationship.
That's my favorite then. Thank you for letting me ask the favorites questions. What's the best place you've gotten to travel to because of your writing?
Ooh, that is a good
I
question.
rewarded her for letting me ask a favorites question by asking that because she loves travel.
I do love traveling. I mean, I've signed in lots of really awesome places. I've signed in Brazil, and Germany, and Spain, and Italy, and France, and the UK. And that is always fun, although it's kind of a whirlwind, like you land in the country and you speed through signing and then they throw you out the other side and you're like, but I'm trying to think. I think that's, for me, probably the best place that I've discovered, sort of, because of my writing, is a town called San Miguel de Allende. I mean, it's very different depending on the project, but co-writing with Sarah and Maureen and also Robin is fun. It's a specific kind of thing though, because it's set in the world of the Shadowhunters, which is my world, so it's a sort of like, you know, they have to read my books to be super familiar with them and then kind of write in that world. And I don't know, how is that? I'm used to it.
I mean, I think of the process of collaborating as sort of, I'm just going to get up and demonstrate it for you. You know what?
Wait, are you being me? I did not do that.
Okay.
I was like, I never do that. I let you have your creative freedom.
I've got a great idea about Raphael. Let me do it.
I let her do her great idea about Raphael, and I even, Maureen, remember, like, actually the first idea Maureen had about the Bane Chronicles was, we were talking about when Magnus would get Alec for his birthday, and she was like, maybe Magnus could summon up a demon, and he could ask the demon what Alec would want for his birthday, and the demon has lots of tentacles, and Magnus is like, what would Alec want for his birthday? And the demon is like, maybe he would like a scented candle. Everyone likes a scented candle. And we did think this was very funny. We fell around laughing. So I was like, okay, Maureen, that's that. You go. You write that.
That's true. And then I was like, what if the demon hadn't been summoned in a while? So he thought, like, you know, stuff that's kind of passé would be a great class. He was like, make him a mixtape. Love a mixtape. And he's like, no one listens to mixtapes anymore. And the demon's like, do they still listen to Fleetwood Mac? I love the Mac. And everybody's like, no, Sarah, that's not actually very funny. I was like,
No,
I love the Mac.
It wound up in the story, so, and there's even a cartoon. And with Holly, it's a much different thing because we made up the world of Magisterium together. So instead of being a process of like, someone writes the story, somebody else, you know, edits the story, and then writes some and hands it back, we each write like 400 or 500 words, pass the book to the other person, they edit over those 400 or 500 words, then write their own 400 or 500 words, and then we pass it back and forth. It's a very weird system, but it works for us because it makes it seem like it's a sort of seamless, one voice kind of project.
Now, I have a question for the audience. I think this has to be our last question, so should I ask her a favorites question or not?
Oh no!
They said yes. We're together. I have to do what they want. What was your favorite scene to write in Clockwork Princess?
Oh, my favorite, I mean, it's gonna be sad. I think my favorite scene to write in Clockwork Princess was the bit where Will is in the inn and he's on his way to Wales and his Parabata rune sort of goes all, and he realizes what that means, and he freaks out, because he assumed this means that Gem is dead.
You see? Right. She likes to torment people just as much as me. That's her.
I like to torment my characters. It's fun. I'm like, oh, the pain. This is a really agonizingly painful scene. It's horrible. It was really enjoyable because you get all the like really, you know, high stakes emotions and fun stuff that's in there. And then you want to write the scenes where people are really feeling very happy, feeling very sad, feeling in love, feeling in danger. Like it's just, you know, those are the really fun parts of writing. The bits where people are just like, you know, I wonder if I should pull over for gas or if I can make it all the way home on, you know, a tenth of a tank. Or not that exciting. No, I do that all the time.
You knew the readers would read that and be like, oh dear, how sad for Will. Look how She's doing a last illicit question. You can't trust her.
I know.
Trust her for a minute. All redheads.
I do like the safe word stuff. Maybe you got them all. I'm not sure.
You know, I selected my favorites.
I feel like the light bulb one. How long does it take you to write a book, Sarah?
Well, you see, I'm very competitive, so when we go to, say, to San Miguel and when I have been apprehended by the police, I'll sit there and I'll be like, you know, normally I'm like, I'm on Twitter, but then I see Cassie writing, I'm like, oh, we're writing, yeah. So once Cassie was on deadline, she started writing faster and faster, and I started writing faster and faster, and then eventually I was like, there, done, I'm done. I wrote a book in 3 weeks. She was like, oh my God, what was your deadline? I was like, I don't have one. I just wanted to win, and now I have. And then she tried to drown me in a fountain, which was hurtful, and just mean.
Aww.
And there was water all over both of our laptops. But, you know, the book worked out pretty well. Both our books worked out pretty well, so well, it was worth it. Aside from those few minutes when I thought I wasn't going to surface.
Oh, I'm going to lose myself while I write this. Is there going to be a Infernal Devices movie or show? I don't know. Make sure that if there is, that you make all the decisions. That would be nice.
I can help with some of these decisions. I have many ideas.
Let's see. Yeah, okay. And... Alright. Is Jess still able to have children? I think Jessica kids would be so cute, but I'm perfectly satisfied knowing they're friendly together and looking after their family. I mean, there's no reason that Tessa wouldn't be able to have kids because she doesn't age. They sort of stopped aging at around 19. So, she could have kids with Jen. I think they would be very cute.
And they should call their first son William.
And they should call their first son William. In fact, even if they have a daughter, they should call her William. Really bring it around full circle.
You call a daughter Wilhelmina, and then she resents you forever.
Thank you so much for coming. And we're going to be online. North of Mexico City. It's high up in the mountains. It's a really beautiful, old Mexican town, full of like sort of artists. And I found it in, I mean, you know, it's not that I discovered it, it was there before, but I found out about it in 2009 when I and my friend Holly realized that we had way over sort of promised how much we were going to be able to turn into our publishers that year, and that our deadlines were coming up and we were in big trouble. And my other friend, Scott Westerfeld, said to me, I went to San Miguel de Allende and I finished 3 books. It's a wonderful place, you should go. Scott always says things like that. He always has the solution to your life's problems. And I thought, okay, I don't know where he's talking about, I don't know where it is, I don't speak any Spanish, but I'm going. So I rented a house there for a month and I took Holly with me, and it is true, I literally wrote like a book in a month, and so did Holly, and so after that we were like, this is the greatest place in the world, and now we go back every year and take Sarah with us. Are we all right?
It's terrible because I don't speak Spanish and I get lost a lot. So I get lost in the town and the policemen have all learned English to communicate with me.
Yeah, there were a couple times where we were like, can you go around the corner to get some milk and come back? And she was like, sure. 2 hours later, the police would return her. And they were like, is this your gringa? And I was like, yeah. I've learned some Spanish, but...
One day they're gonna say no.
Yeah, one day I'll be like, no.
But the policeman and I have really formed a bond, so I think they'll take me home. They speak really good English at this point.
Yeah, I know. I mean, they're used to tourists like us getting lost in running circles.
Well, apparently the first year my attempts to mine where I should be brought back to were so traumatizing for them and the small children involved.
They brought her back and they were like, you've lost your lunatic. And we were like, we'll take her back now.
Now I have a very deep question now. What is your life goal? And if you have accomplished it, what are you going to do about the rest of your life?
That's horrible. I'm so upset now. Philanthropy. I don't think there are many people who ever feel like they've accomplished their life goal and they're done. I mean, maybe if your life goal is just like really something very specific, like marry Robert Downey Jr. and then you do it, I guess you're done. But I mean, my life's goal was always to be a writer. And I am a writer, which is great, but I don't feel like I'm done. I feel like I have a lot more stories to tell and a lot of books that I would like to write, ideas that I have, so I feel like I'm not really worried about what I will do next. I only hope, I have enough time to do it all.
We have to shoot for the moon.
Yeah, I know.
We have to shoot for the moon. And of course, my life's goal involves both the moon and Chris Evans. So that's all going to come together.
Sing all.
Of course he is.
Unlike Robert Downey Jr.
He's waiting for me and the moon. Soon it will be our time. Out of all the characters you have written about, which is the one you relate to the most?
That is totally a favorite question.
It is a totally different question. You guys agree with me, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. I knew you would be on my side.
Got my eye on all of you.
Favorite characters often not the one you relate to the most. But what's the one that's most like you? Which one's heartstrings are tied the closest to your heartstrings?
That's hard to say. But I might say Simon because I feel like Simon and I are both Jewish, and also I do believe that, if this was a situation in which I suddenly found out that there was a magical world full of demons and angels, I too would be almost immediately killed.
Simon. It's good up sometimes.
I'm going to go with, I'll pick which of Cassie's characters I relate to the most. Tessa. She is a tall brunette who always thinks to herself whenever anything is happening in her life, what would a book character do? I should do that. Which doesn't always work out, but I think it's a beautiful way.
It really depends on the book character, doesn't it? Sometimes it's a good idea.
I mean, sometimes I'm thinking of Oliver Twist and then I steal stuff. Just everybody's stuff. Watch your stuff.
Ask for my driver's license one.
I need it. I don't have one of my own. They won't let me. One telephone pole. Anyway, I'm going to ask a favorites question because you had to bring up my unfortunate driving license scenario. What's your favorite cereal? It's a real question, I swear I didn't make it up.
Name it Cheerios. Very boring.
The person who has written this question wrote Cheerios in brackets. I believe that they are your soulmate / parasite.
Psychic bonding we should talk later.
I'm going Frosted Flakes so my soulmate can just find me. How big of a say do you have in the television show?
0. 0% say. We have a sassy individual on this side of the room. Now we like it.
I believe I have a large say. I'm constantly calling them and leaving long and detailed messages.
Yeah, they told me to ask you to not do that anymore.
Look, the strip club idea was genius. It was pure gold. It would make millions. It's fine. Why did you choose to make Simon a vampire?
Oh, somebody's still sad about Simon becoming a vampire. I do. I think because I was trying to make a point about how dangerous the Shadow World was. We meet the Shadow Hunters, they're very secretive about what they do. They try to keep the Shadow World hidden from mundanes. They're very sort of angry with Clary for kind of bringing Simon into it. And I kind of wanted to illustrate that, yes, it is incredibly dangerous. It's dangerous to mundanes, and Simon really does only survive a couple of weeks knowing about the Shadow World before he is turned into a vampire. And, I thought it would be a way of illustrating the kind of the high stakes of this world, how dangerous it was. And I also thought it was a way of a transformational thing for Simon that was significant. It didn't make him a shadow hunter, but it brought him into that world so he could be in the world with Clary and with the others. And I felt like otherwise he would always be separate.
Another deep question. What were your high school years like, and what effect have they had on your work?
They loves their high school years all that much. I went to a really small hippie high school in LA where we were always like given cans of paint to throw at the wall and told to express our feelings and call our teachers by their first name and made like get out of class by saying that we were feeling, you know, a sense of, you know, that the universe was difficult or something. So I don't really know exactly what effect it had on me specifically, except there was a lot of follow your own star stuff, which was nice for me because I wanted to be a writer even back then, and so I was allowed to do a lot of sort of specific, like private, like study and writing, and you know, they were very sort of respectful that that was what I wanted to do, and I think that that's nice to have, you know, when you're young, to have adults accept that you actually do want to know what it is. You do know that what you want to do with your life, and if there's something that you want to do with your life that's artistic, they don't say, well, you'll never make any money doing that. They say, okay, like, how can we help you? Like, how can you get better at what you do?
Well, I'm Irish, and we don't have high school, so I expect, since all of my experience of high school is based on movies and television, I expected her to answer that high school helped her a lot, and that it's all conducted in song, and there are a lot of vampires. Yes?
Well, yeah, singing, dancing, basketball team, I mean, everybody does.
Of course. And the cheerleaders are all vampires.
Actually, we had no sports because sports were considered to be unnecessarily competitive.
That's ridiculous. How do you know who's the best at cheating? I mean...
Irish schools are very interesting to me.
I don't have a method for winning egg and spoon races, but that's wrong.
Do you glue your egg to the spoon?
No!
Why am I asking?
What it needs is feint of hand. If you do something sufficiently terrible with one hand, they don't notice whether the egg is still in the spoon at all. Like a magic trick. For you, which was the most difficult character to write?
For me, there have been a bunch that are difficult to write, and in some ways, characters whose experiences are very different than yours are the most difficult. So Julian was certainly very difficult in Lady Midnight because he's sort of raising his whole family, and I'm an only child, so the perspective of someone who has all these brothers and sisters and feels responsible for them, very different than mine. And also Sebastian, because he's kind of not a human person, so trying to write from the point of view of somebody who's not exactly human is very difficult.
I thought it was fine.
Sarah likes Sebastian. She would run off with him if he, you know, was alive.
He could come with me and Chris Evans to the moon. Absolutely. But also I find writing inhuman characters very easy. The only characters I find hard to write are characters who don't like reading.
Yeah, that is difficult.
Have you ever met a fan and figured he or she would be a good character, so you put them in a book? Actually, nobody ever knows when you put them in a book, so you wouldn't know. My mother is convinced that all mothers in all of my books are her. One time I set a mother on fire.
Yeah, all of the mothers in Sarah's books are basically evil, so if I was her mother, I would be heavily side-eyeing. But that's why your friends and family really can't take this stuff personally. They rarely are based on people in your life. I've taken fans' names in specific instances. Like I met a fan when I was in Mexico who said, you should write a Mexican character. And I was like, I should, because I'm setting a book in Los Angeles. And her name was Christina, so I took her name. And I was like, I'll name the character after you. And I took my friend Maureen, who always used to bother me about Simon, because she was like, I love Simon, I'm his #1 fan. And so I wrote a crazy character called Maureen, who was his #1 fan. She's not really much like Maureen, except for the enthusiasm about Simon.
That's not true, it's an exact likeness.
Yeah, with the big bone tiara and the, like, you know.
I mean, it makes it difficult to get into restaurants.
Yes.
What would happen if a fairy or warlock were bitten by a werewolf, or went through the process of becoming a vampire? Would it be a normal transformation? Would something different happen? Would it just involve a lot of, like, hitting and biting?
If a fairy or a werewolf? Nothing would happen. You can't get fairy pyres or weird pyres. I decided this at some point because I felt like I had seen a lot of urban fantasy where they were constantly hybridized, like, werepires, and there were also a lot of, like, weird animals that weren't actually wolves, and I was like, but the werewolf mythology is all about why do wolves howl at the moon? And there are other shape changer mythologies, but it's not the same, like, there's a weird rat, and a weird ferret, and a weird mole. I'm like, and also, how terrifying is a weird mole, really? I'm a weird mole, I'm a weird worm, so I was like, I'm just doing werewolves. There's only werewolves, and that's it for the weird creatures. And I don't think of the different downworlders as really being able to mix particularly, though you meet some kind of variations of werewolves and fairies in Dark Artifices.
This intolerant attitude is why I will never tell her that I'm a werelama.
Oh, werelama! That would be great.
It is, but you'll never know. Which of your characters would you date?
Oh. Oh God. They're all like a version of you, so it's kind of weird to think about dating them in any way. So it's sort of like dating yourself. I don't know. I might date Magnus. I feel like he would be a good time.
I mean, I wanted to say I'd date Sebastian. I've made poor decisions before.
He would be like, oh, a good weekend, but I wouldn't trust him beyond that.
I mean, he wouldn't tip the waiter. He might kill the waiter.
You might. You'd have to really restrict yourself to solo activities. I would think Magnus would be fun. I feel like he has he knows how to party, and it would be a good time, and he seems to know good restaurants. I think Magnus.
Well, maybe I'd just take Sebastian to restaurants I didn't like.
That would punish him for the bad things he's done.
Punish everybody. Punish the restaurant, punish Sebastian. It'd be great. That's karma. Were the characters from your books drawn from people in your life, or where did they originate from?
They're sort of mixtures. Sometimes, like with Maureen, they are inspired by somebody in my life. Sometimes they are completely not, and they just are sort of imaginative. They come from your imagination. You think, oh, I really am interested in the idea of the story of someone who is in this situation, and then you start to create the character. And what would they be like, and what would their characteristics be? What's their personality? And they start to grow. That's sort of like I said, you get to know them as you write them, and that's sort of how they develop. And at least in my experience, I'm probably different for different people. But I read the first draft of City of Bones, and Holly was reading it, and she was like, Jace. She was like, what is motivating him? What is he like? Like, he's happy, he's sad, he's angry, he's hangry, he's, who can say? And I was like, I don't know him yet, so I don't know why he does any of the things that he does. And it wasn't until I got to the end of the book that I kind of figured out his relationship with Valentine, and then went back and sort of rewrote him knowing all that stuff.
Will you do more collaborations with Sarah and Maureen?
I don't know, Sarah, would you like to do another collaboration?
Well, are we going to do the Camille Chronicles?
We can do the Camille Chronicles. I would mind doing the immortal tales of an immortal, sexy blonde lady through the centuries. I mean, as you can see, we don't actually have an idea at the moment. Both Bane Chronicles and Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy were kind of like ideas that just came to us. Like, first with the Bane Chronicles, we were in France. It makes it sound like we're always in France, which is very fancy, but the actual fact is that we go to France to work often, rent a house and work there, so we do have a lot of professional stuff happen there. And we were with Maureen. We were lying around in the living room, and Maureen was like, wouldn't it be great if, I can't even remember what was going on in her head, but she was like, wouldn't it be great if we could, like, write, just collaborate on a couple of short stories about Magnus? That would be fun. And we were like, that would be fun. That does seem like a good idea. We all like Magnus. What would be the point? And she was like, well, we could make, do 10, and it would be a book. And so it was actually her idea, and that's how the Bane Chronicles was born. And then later, after City of Heavenly Fire was not printed yet, but I had written it, and Maureen was very, very angry at me about Simon losing his memories. She was like, we need to fix this. I propose another 10-novella book in which this is fixed. And I was like, well, I didn't really want to do the Simon Chronicles, because one of the things about Magnus is that he's lived for 400 years, and we were able to pick different parts of history and different points in his life, and each one could be a full story. And Simon's only 17 years old. So what we did was the Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy, and we used the Academy itself to kind of link the whole story of Simon up, and each one kind of told something about the Academy. And different pieces of Shadowhunter history that was filled in. No, I mean, we would totally do it again, I think, is the answer if we had like an idea that we, were super enthusiastic about.
If ideas struck, because I believe the way Maureen put it was first like, I bet that Magnus has escaped somewhere in a balloon once.
Oh yeah, that was her story. Magnus escapes from
And then the next day, Cassie and Maureen were like, all right, so how are we going to lay them out? Do you have any ideas for stories? I was like, oh, I'm sorry, is that a real thing? I just thought Maureen was, okay. But it is lovely the way things come to you, and that we were on our last bus tour, and Cassie was talking about, she was like, people really like the infernal devices, I'm so happy, but I don't think I could write, more about those characters, their stories done. I guess I could write more about their children. And I was like, you reach higher gratifications, because I was brushing my teeth. She's like, what? What? And I was like, great expectations! James Heron Hill, you will fall in love with a cruel lady. It's like, I like a cruel lady. A cruel blonde lady.
Blonde lady. Yes, the Infernal Devices are sort of a loose retelling of The Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, and so Sarah's idea was to the Great Expectations retelling and about the children of the characters from the Infernal Devices, and so we, I thought that was like a genius idea, and we actually wrote all of the Bane Chronicle story, The Midnight Air, on the bus, which is about Will's son, James.
It was kind of great because Cassie was a little seasick, on the bus, and so I got away, I think, with some stuff that she maybe would have let me get away. I was like, so James is just going to shoot out a chandelier, and she's like, okay, I don't feel real good. And later she was like, wait, shadows with guns, and I was like, too late, sorry.
And now I had to work a gun into the last hour. But I was like, and this time on the bus, I haven't been seasick or motion sick or whatever, but Holly was super motion sick, and she purchased an herbal remedy that you put behind your ears, which is supposed to make you not motion sick. It does not work. I'm telling you. Boy, does it smell. So she put it on, and I came in, and I was like, dear God, what has gone wrong in this room? And she was like, would you like some? And then the bus lurched, and it went whoosh, all over her. And all night we lay in the bus bed together with her reeking. And I was like, you can smell. And I hit her all night. So I gotta say, I don't think that it was really a good choice for her.
A related question. What is the process of
I mean, it's very different depending on the project, but co-writing with Sarah and Maureen and also Robin is fun. It's a specific kind of thing though, because it's set in the world of the Shadowhunters, which is my world, so it's a sort of like, they have to read my books, be super familiar with them, and then kind of write in that world, and I don't know, how is that? I'm used to it.
I think of the process of collaborating as sort of, I'm just going to get up and demonstrate it for you. You know what?
Are you being me? I do not do that. Okay. I was like, I never do that. I let you have your creative freedom.
I've got a great idea about Raphael. Let me do it.
I let her do her great idea about Raphael, and I even, Maureen, remember, actually the first idea Maureen had about the Bane Chronicles was, we were talking about when Magnus would get Alec for his birthday, and she was like, maybe Magnus could summon up a demon, and he could ask the demon what Alec would want for his birthday, and the demon has lots of tentacles, and Magnus is like, what would Alec want for his birthday? And the demon is like, maybe he would like a scented candle. Everyone likes the scented candle. And we did think this was very funny. We fell around laughing. So I was like, okay, Maureen, that's that. You go. You write that.
That's true. And I was like, what if the demon hadn't been summoned in a while? So he thought, stuff that's kind of passé would be a great class. He was like, make him a mixtape. Love a mixtape. And I was like, no. And he's like, no one listens to mixtapes anymore. And the demon's like, do they still listen to Fleetwood Mac? I love the Mac. And everybody's like, no, Sarah, that's not actually very funny. I was like, I love the Mac.
It wound up in the story, so, and there's even a cartoon. And with Holly, it's a much different thing because we made up the world of Magisterium together. So it's instead of being a process of like, someone writes the story, somebody else, edits the story, and then writes some and hands it back. We each write like 400 or 500 words, pass the book to the other person. They edit over those 400 or 500 words, then write their own 400 or 500 words, and then we pass it back and forth. It's a very weird system, but it works for us because it makes it seem like it's a sort of seamless, one voice kind of project.
Now, I have a question for the audience. I think this has to be our last question, so should I ask her a favorites question or not?
Oh no!
They said yes. We're together. I have to do what they want. What was your favorite scene to write in Clockwork Princess?
Oh, my favorite, I mean, it's going to be sad. I think my favorite scene to write in Clockwork Princess was the bit where Will is in the inn and he's on his way to Wales and his Parvati rune sort of goes all, and he realizes what that means, and he freaks out because he assumed this means that Jem is dead.
You see, right? She likes to torment people just as much as me. That's her favorite.
I like to torment my characters. It's fun. I'm like, oh, the pain. This is a really agonizingly painful scene. It's horrible. It was really enjoyable because you get all the really, high stakes emotions and fun stuff that's in there. I mean, you want to write the scenes where people are really feeling very happy, feeling very sad, feeling in love, feeling in danger. Like it's just, those are the really fun parts of writing. The bits where people are just like, I wonder if I should pull over for gas or if I can make it all the way home on, a tenth of a tank. Or not that exciting. No, I do that all the time.
You knew that readers would read that and be like, oh dear, how sad for Will. I don't guess I'm never making myself a sandwich. And I'd be like, I guess I'll make a sandwich out of my own heart. We're done now, we're done. Oh, she's doing a last illicit question. You can't trust her.
I know.
Trust her for a minute. All right, let's.
I do like the safe word stuff. Maybe you got them all. I'm not sure.
I selected my favorites.
I do like the light bulb one. How long does it take you to write a book, Sarah?
Well, you see, I'm very competitive, so when we go to, say, to San Miguel, and when I have been apprehended by the police, I'll sit there and I'll be like, normally I'm like, I'm on Twitter, but then I see Cassie writing, I'm like, oh, we're writing, yeah. So once Cassie was on deadline, she started writing faster and faster, and I started writing faster and faster, and then eventually I was like, there, done, I'm done. I wrote a book in 3 weeks. She was like, oh my God, what was your deadline? I was like, I don't have one. I just wanted to win, and now I have. And then she tried to drown me in a fountain, which was hurtful, and just mean.
Aww.
And there was water all over both of our laptops. But, the book worked out pretty well. Both our books worked out pretty well, so it was worth it. Aside from those few minutes when I thought I wasn't going to surface.
Oh, I'm losing myself while I write this. Is there going to be a Infernal Devices movie or show? I don't know. Make sure that if there is, that you make all the decisions. That would be nice.
I can help with some of these decisions. I have many ideas.
Let's see. Oh, okay. And all right. Is Jess still able to have children? I think Jessa kids would be so cute, but I'm perfectly satisfied knowing they're finally together and looking after their family. I mean, there's no reason that Tessa wouldn't be able to have kids because she doesn't age. They sort of stopped aging at around 19. So she could have kids with Jeff. I think they would be very cute.
And they should call their first son William.
And they should call their first son William. In fact, even if they have a daughter, they should call her William. Really bring it around full circle.
You call a daughter Wilhelmina, and then she resents you forever.
Thank you so much for coming. And we're going to be online.
I guess
So what did you guys
She's
think?
pretty successful.
What did you guys think?
We liked it.
Did you understand? You're being videotaped, just so you know.
I was able, thanks to you, follow along a lot of the humor and a lot of the storyline because I've heard you discuss her as an author. And it was fun seeing how they put this together, too.
Yes, and I was inspired and given some creative ideas of my own because I liked the interaction of the two writers together.
Yeah, how they spoke
I
back.
love
More
that.
like, we're talking about Cassandra Clare, though, in her writing it. So,
Son.
we have the Shadowhunters, which is not very good.
Well,
picture Jesse Reader and Lauren?
I'm doing a video. More. See, we should have had someone do what Maureen's doing. Just sitting down there and taking the pictures.
That's what I did, sir.
But you weren't down there. So hers are gonna be better. Jesse has a really cool shirt. It's from the books. Oh, he has this camera. Yeah, we're gonna take a picture of Maureen and Jesse. So. And then I kind of want to go out and take a picture by his school bus. Big, late in the night.
She didn't get to kind of talk to her?
Because she doesn't just sign Lady Midnight, but that's what they said. Because like City of Glass is my favorite by her, and I would have much rather had City of Glass.
She would have signed her name.
Yes. No, we saw pictures. Oh my gosh, I caught that on video. His weird facial expression.
I've ever known. Can't live for tomorrow. Tomorrow's much too long. I'll burn my eyes out before I get out. I wanted more than life could ever bring me. Bored by the chore of saving face. Today is the greatest day I've never known. Can't wait for tomorrow. I might not have that long. I'll tear my heart out before I get out. Today is the greatest. Today is the greatest day. Today is the greatest day that I have ever known.
So hey, it's Allie. It's been a long time since the signing and all that jazz, but I kind of wanted to give you guys an overview. I'm using my phone, so sorry if the camera is shaking, but it was incredible. I got to not only meet Jesse the Reader, but he asked me if I would sit next to him and Maureen, and it was one of those like fangirl moments where your heart is like and you can't like breathe at all, but you're sitting there, and he like hugged me and he talked to me, and I feel like I was kind of embarrassing because I didn't know what to say, and I was so nervous, and I kept trying to talk, and so I tried talking about books, and I think he talked to me a little bit, and he was really, really kind, but I feel like I was kind of weird, and you know, that kind of like awkwardness, especially when I opened my phone and like him and Christine and Kat are the lock screen, and I forgot about that, so it was a little uncomfortable, but I really I enjoyed it. I will remember it for the rest of my life. I have tons of pictures of two people that I absolutely love, two people that I feel like I'm gonna vomit at the idea of meeting them, and it was just an overall good night. I loved learning things about Cassandra Clare, like the reason why the ducks are the ducks, you know, why he's afraid of the ducks, and Alec and all that kind of jazz. Like Cassandra Clare, one of the co-authors for the Bane Chronicles was there, and she said, "You look like the kind of girl who would like Alec," and I was like, Alec is my favorite character, and we were talking about it, but Cassandra Clare like really does not like Shadowhunters. She was talking about that too. So I mean, it's a little interesting. I almost can form sentences about it, so you might have to ask me in the comments or talk to me later, because it's insane. Like meeting one of your heroes, one of the people you like idolize, like I would rather meet him than like Robert Downey Jr. or any celebrity, and just like sitting next to them and knowing them and them being nice to you, and the fact that he knew my name, like I feel like I made a complete fool of myself, but at the same time I really, really enjoyed it, and I really, really had fun, and I wish like we were friends in real life, but we can't be. We talked about booktube, we talked about all kinds of stuff, we talked about Christine, and I cannot wait to meet them at BEA again, and meet Maureen at BEA again. I got Emma a signed book because doing that, I mean, booktube, I want to make friends. I love like Jessie and all them, but I want to get to know them as not just like people, but as people who are my friends and all that kind of stuff, and not even them, like other YouTubers and other booktubers and other people out there. I want to be able to both show them my creation and be able to bond with them over books, because that's ultimately the reason why I created this channel. It wasn't to like be famous or talk about things. I guess I should, let me grab this. Sorry, I did not plan for this, and I probably should have. So I gave Jessie Emma's book because I didn't want to like ask for her address and all that jazz. So I got Lady Midnight signed. We were 12th in line. I don't know if you can see my name and then see the book. Cassandra Clare. I didn't get her to sign the Bane Chronicles, but oh yeah, so Cassandra Clare kept talking about the Shadowhunters show and how much she doesn't understand it and how much she hates it. Well, this was in one of my books, and so when I got my book up there for her to sign, she sees it. She sees this, and she pulls it out, and she looks at it and says, "Oh, I didn't know they were giving that out." Like, she legitimately hates it. She hates it. But I mean, she talked about Alberto really nicely, and it surprised me how much she like loves Jace. I mean, not Jace, Magnus. I mean, I thought she would love Magnus. I mean, Jace. Wow, I thought she would love Jace, but she really loves Magnus. Like, she kept talking, and I thought about how like every book and every series has Magnus in it. So then they give us these rune tattoos, which I have multiples of, which are really awesome and cool. And then I got the Bane Chronicles, and I got them signed by, what's her name? Sarah Rees Brennan. We were 12th in line. I mean, I was already kind of like out of breath and crazy after the Jessie the Reader thing, which I should have some pictures and videos in this of that. So I hope you guys understand. I hope you guys have a great night, and if you want to hear more of my crazy fear and heart, I hope you talk to me or comment. I really hope you like that photo board. I think it was kind of creepy. I made it and it seemed cool. Maureen seemed to enjoy it, but it was fun. I gave him also the Book Thief because Booksplosion just read that on DVD, and I wrote a letter, which is a little uncomfortable, but you know, okay. See you guys. Goodbye. I know I already said goodbye, but I forgot to show you guys the Shadowhunters bag. It says I love Shadowhunters, and on the inside it has like stuff about Freeform. It's like purple and latex. I'm really excited. I had a lot of fun. I got to meet some people that I loved. So I guess that's all I want to say. I hope you have a great night, and I hope you get to meet people that you love too, because it's so nice to be able to not only have your family like be able to understand and love books and love what's going on as much as you do, but it's also really nice to be able to have these memories. Like, I think the CureCast signing was one of the best days of my life, and I'll never forget it, and I'll never forget tonight either, and how much fun and how amazing it was, and just the stories that stick with you. So I hope you guys get that, and I'll see you soon.